Greetings from Tucson. This is Laura at the Yarn Closet in Tucson, Arizona. Yarn Closet AZ for Arizona on Instagram, and the Yarn Closet over on Patreon. We have a blog over there, and that's where we put downloads of free patterns in crochet, knit, loom knitting, and what to do with the sock tube. I'm sitting on the floor today. I have my little co-host in the background. Vlogmas has been fun. I feel more engaged, and it's challenging to come up with things to talk about since realistically, you don't want to see me do laundry. You don't want to see me do my everyday mobility scooter drive to school, because that one was scary enough. But what's going on today? It's Monday. We are starting the week. Tomorrow night we have the school play for little Prue. So that might be what you see a smidge of on Wednesday. I'm not going to do other kids, but maybe her before. She got to go to Grandma's for the yearly cookie coloring. And my husband and I have been together for 6 years. It's tough. Well, we've known each other for 6 years as of January. Next June will be our 6th anniversary. It's tough because my older son has Asperger's, and my husband's family has not adapted well to that in the same way that people don't adapt well to Kitty and my vision loss. Someone at school today said, "Laura, you're wrong. Your mom's vision is fine." Really? I said, "What do you mean?" "Well, I saw her on Wednesday. She didn't act any differently." Hi, this didn't happen overnight. So I showed her a couple of pictures of what her reading vision is actually like and what her physical vision is actually like right now, and mine. And she's like, "That can't be right." I'm like, "Yeah, it is." The thing is, most people in our boat don't talk about it. They go through it and they don't tell anyone. Very few people around them, other than very close people, might know about it. They just don't talk about it. You don't want to be perceived as vulnerable or having a weakness. You do other things to change your habits and accommodate situations. And I just love her to death, this woman at school. But it's true. I mean, we struggle to read anything. My phone is maxed at text size, even with accessibility. And I'm still struggling at times, because not everything within apps will actually magnify. And the largest you can get your app pictures to be is not actually all that big. And the keyboard never gets any bigger. What's up with that? So that's the start of my day. Thank you for all of you returning people. Thank you for you new people. I love the friendships, the participation, and the support. The more support we get, the more gifts we give out. We give out quarterly gifts. There will be an announcement at the beginning of January. And Mom and I try to do at least once a month a good hour podcast. I try to do weekly podcasts about, there's always going to be life in there, but tips and tricks about your yarn stuff. And motivational things, I think, also for the yarn stuff. Because you know what? I would say 80% of the time, you are the only one that sees the mistake in what you made. It's still worthy of gifting if that was your intent. And here we go. And it's still wonderful. So here's a few examples of what loom knitting patterns are going to be on, what people are using. You can make knit stitches, purl stitches. You can make another stitch called an E-wrap, which is very, very easy. You can get looms that are knitting boards. I'll show you what that means. And that makes a double thick material. You can get small looms, large looms, adjustable looms. This is the old-fashioned sock loom. Okay, this has 24 pegs. See, there's a ridge on the peg. That's to help you use your tool, your little pick tool, to move the yarn over. You can get ergonomic picks. Most of them come with something like this. You can get picks with 2 tines, so you can flip 2 at a time. And you can get picks that have 2 tines that are at different gauges, because here you go. Can you tell that these are much further apart than these? This I can actually use sock, fingering weight, sock yarn, and make socks that look exactly like a knitted, hand knit sock. See, this part is adjustable. So that adjusts my number of stitches. So I can make, you know, babies, kids, moms, dads. I will say that I don't love this metal business. But this is as close to the tines on here that I like. So it's what I use. But you can, and you know, like everything else, it takes practice. And I bet if I started just doing this again, within a few months, I'd be just as fast knitting a sock on here as hand knitting a sock. This is a knitting board. Exactly opposite. So you can string the yarn back and forth and make a double thick. Now, some of the knitting boards have an extra peg on the side, so I can use this like a round loom. And this would actually give me like a big man head hat, because there's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. There's 50, okay? I wear like a 40, 41, so, okay, I have a black friend who always has her hair kind of mounded, and she complains about not getting big enough hats. This would make a big enough hat for her to get over her mound of hair. People with dreadlocks and big, big man heads. Now, depending on the stitches you use, you can shrink that back in, because you can do ribbing. You can do all the same stitches and all the same stitch combinations. So you can take this 50 and you can do ribbing, and it'll still fit a normal size head. So just because it doesn't look like a circle doesn't mean you won't get a circle, because it's just like, you know, you can use just one side and knit back and forth, just like using straight needles, or it's like using circular needles. You can do the whole circle. And this gizmo, I-cord. No, this is not big enough for a baby booty. Most of the time you need 12 pegs about a finger width apart to get a baby booty. Remember that anything you do on the pegs shrinks in. So if I used every peg from one end to the other end, just single side, my knitting is not going to be this wide. It will pull in, and it will be, depending on my stitches, it will be, you know, this wide, maybe less, you know, but it will be at least 2 or 3 pegs back on either side, depending on your stitches. Gauge on knitting boards, knitting looms, is dependent on the thickness of your yarn and the space between the pegs. And once again, if you're using a pattern of stuff, you will get a different gauge. So if you're doing something fancy on the loom, a gauge swatch is great. But for a lot of the people that I know who are troubled visually, they just do the E-wrap. So you can make a pretty easy slipper without a heel here. Hold on. Oh my. See, you know, and this is the trouble. This is the trouble, people. Because my text is so big, when I am looking landscape and the keyboard comes up, I can't actually read anything above it, because like when I'm reading a text, that is the only way to get the keyboard bigger is in landscape. But if I need to read the text, I need to look this way, then switch this way to be able to type more easily. Although I do actually know where all the keys are and can do it. So sometimes you'll get a text from me and you'll get a number or a symbol instead of the letter, because the keyboard has flipped and I haven't noticed. He just realized I'm talking to a screen. And you're trying to move my hand? Why are you doing that? Why are you doing that? I want to show him a couple more things. Go sit down. Go sit down. Go on, go sit down. So I took my turtleneck from the other day and I made it into a baby hat because it wasn't quite right. So I am working on making another turtleneck, but figuring out how to have a little bit more shape on the back so it comes down further. So I started out, and this is in a ribbed pattern, and this is giving me a very V shape. So now I've marked my spot and I'm changing how I'm increasing. And I'm thinking I might just write that pattern up after it's all said and done. No. I tried to record him snoring the other night. He snores so loudly, it's ridiculous. But anyway, that's an upcoming knitting pattern. There'll be more loom patterns as the new year progresses, and I might even rewrite some of them. Comment, share, like, and I hope you love this little corner that we've all created. Look with your heart first. The whole saying is look with your heart first, not your eyes, because that's what a blind person has to do.